everyone, so this is my review of American Horror Story Apocalypse, episode 2, called The Morning After. And essentially what this episode is about is that Michael Langdon prepares to meet with each of the members of Outpost 3 to decide whether or not they're worthy. And while that's going on, Miss Vanderbilt sort of hatches a plan to make things go her way. And this was a really great and interesting episode that wasn't that great of an episode on its own, but it definitely was a good episode sort of setting up for what's to come. And with all that, it was just really interesting to see how everything played out. And I really kind of liked how this episode mostly just focused on Mr. Gallant and his sort of whole tactic and ploy to try and get into the new safe space. With him trying to do all this different stuff to sort of persuade Michael and believing that Michael is on his side when he really isn't. And that was interesting to see, especially with the reintroduction of the Leatherman and everything around that, where it definitely looked like by the end of this episode that Michael was creating an illusion to sort of have the Leatherman be around, but he wasn't actually there. So that was interesting to see, just sort of see the Leatherman as like this other set of eyes for Michael, it definitely looked like, and that I really kind of like. I'm very curious to see how that might play into the future, with if he'll reintroduce some other people that way, or how the Leatherman will play into other people's sort of lives and stuff. And then everything with Mr. Gallant was interesting, with learning a bit more about his backstory and learning that he and his grandmother actually really hate each other. And that, like I said, was interesting to see with how their whole relationship played out, with the grandmother sort of accepting her grandson's gayness as a ploy to make her more popular, but she actually really didn't like the fact that he was gay. And how she even went against her grandson so then she could possibly win a spot into this new outpost by turning him in as breaking one of the rules. And just everything around that was interesting to see, especially with how everything turned out by the end of the episode, and I'm very interested to see what's going to happen for the consequences of that in the next one. Then everything with Timothy and Emily was interesting, with them trying to find out more about Langdon and why he's there and stuff like that, and them sort of trying to figure out what is actually going on. And that was interesting to see, with them sort of going into Langdon's room and seeing that Miss Vanderbilt has been breaking several of the rules and stuff, and that it actually is okay for them to be like having sex and doing all these different stuff that Miss Vanderbilt would kill them for. And I also did like the one thing that people are commenting on, with like the introduction of the Apple computer sort of being like this biblical reference to the apple in the Garden of Eden. I don't fully believe it that that's true, but it is an interesting sort of like play on words and stuff like that. And then it was just kind of interesting how, like, the minute after they discover that they could be having sex and that it's okay, they just went ahead and did that, and then ended up getting in trouble for it anyways. And with how the episode ended for the two of them, I'm very interested to see what's going to happen in the next episode because of everything around that. Then Miss Vanderbilt trying to get herself into this new outpost, and pretty much it looks like leave everyone else behind, is interesting, with her sort of bad-mouthing all the other members of the outpost. So then it would essentially only be her that would seem valuable to the new outpost. And that, like I said, was interesting to see how Michael sort of danced around everything she said. And just their whole conversation was interesting, with like an almost love-hate thing, with him sort of bad-mouthing her, but then also complimenting her at roughly the same time. And just, I really enjoyed that, and I'm very interested to see what's going to happen with Miss Vanderbilt later on, with everything that she's sort of doing to try and make it so she's the only option. then with how this episode ended, I really want to know more about what is going on with Miss Meadow, I believe it's called. And how it showed what happened to her when she got shot. It kind of makes it seem like she's an android or some sort of robotic person with how she was bleeding like this weird goo and didn't really have whole parts. So, like, yeah, is she a robot or is she secretly being, like, taken over by the radiation and it's slowly, like, eating her from, like, the inside out? Which would be kind of weird, but still cool to see that she is actually affected by the radiation. And then just overall, this was such a great episode, and I'm so excited to see what's going to happen in the next one now that it looks like, based on the preview for the next episode, that there's going to be a lot of new rules sort of added, and it definitely looks like Michael's sort of setting it up for how everyone will react when they break those certain rules. So, yeah, that's my review of American Horror Story Apocalypse, episode 2, called The Morning After. So, yeah.